the sound that goes boom. Cause I own up percent every day.
What if I told you, ladies and gentlemen, that the biggest betrayal in hip-hop history actually occurred in a hotel room that no one was supposed to know about? Because just when you thought the story of Remy Ma, Papoose, and Fat Joe couldn't get any more complicated, leaked footage from a long-forgotten Miami hotel suddenly surfaced, and things don't look good for Remy. We're talking about dimly lit hallway cameras and two familiar figures sneaking past the lobby at 2:17 a.m., and a check-in receipt signed by Joseph Cartagena, sometimes known as Fat Joe, next to reminisce Mackie coincidence. It wasn't a hacker who found the footage, it was Papoose himself. Rumor has it that he discovered it while purging old emails from an iPad that Remy claimed was only for music. How long did this affair last? Before or during the wedding? Why? Hasn't anyone discussed it up until now? Hold on tight, because what we're about to discover could forever alter your perception of the entire Terror Squad legacy. Let's rewind the tape. Not the glittering Grammy speeches or the Instagram birthday tributes. I'm talking about the real story. The stuff that never made it to interviews, the stuff they didn't want us to piece together. We all know that Remy Ma and Fat Joe have a long history together, similar to Bronx street fights. The industry referred to them as brother and sister, but behind the scenes, a source close to the crew claims that the sibling bond was always just the PR version of the truth. Remember, Remy Ma wasn't just any random rapper rising through the ranks. She was Big Pun's protege, handpicked and blessed. However, when Pun passed away tragically in 2000, Fat Joe stepped in like a knight in oversized denim, offering studio access, protection, and allegedly something far more personal. Their first real spark was Summer Jam 2002. According to an old security guard who worked backstage, Joe never left her side. This led me to believe that they were married based on his acting. TS Terror Squad insiders now assert that Remy and Joe had undeniable chemistry off the mic. One anonymous engineer stated, "There were nights they'd go in the booth and come out holding hands like we saw it, but they always shut it down if anyone brought it up." Although Remy was discreetly dating someone else at the time, her loyalty to Joe was undeniable, and people in the camp described it as closer than close. By 2004, Lean Back was at the top of the charts, and the industry went crazy. But behind that anthem, there was tension. Not just creative tension, but also jealousy, secrecy, and late-night studio sessions that never ended with just music. And yet, nobody dared to voice their disapproval because Fat Joe was the boss, and Remy was her loyal ride or die until things changed. Fast forward to 2007, when Remy Ma was arrested and later given an 8-year prison sentence. While the cameras were trained on Pap outside the courtroom, Fat Joe was quietly visiting Remy. There were no pictures or statements, just visits, according to leaked visitor logs from Rikers Island, and yes, we were able to obtain those. Joseph Cartagena signed in 5 times between 2008 and 2009, all under coded aliases. The dates corresponded with significant events in Remy's life, particularly the one just before she was moved to Bedford Hills Correctional. What was Joe actually doing there? According to a former prison employee, he was composed but intense, as if he had something to say. Every visit appeared emotional. Meanwhile, Papoose was writing letters and giving interviews in public, promoting her name as a badge of honor. However, if the jail logs are authentic, and from what we've seen, they are legitimate, then Fat Joe was the one who made those quiet, off-the-beaten-path visits. The question now becomes, was there something going on in that prison that even Papoose was unaware of? Papoose herself once made a mistake in a post-release interview when asked who she missed most while incarcerated. "They surprised me with how much they cared." That's it, just that look. The host didn't dare press her further. And now, years later, Papoose finds an old iPad while cleaning it in the spring. It's the same device Remy used when she was first on parole to write lyrics and journal her thoughts. However, it appears that one file was never erased. The file name is 7th Floor. Miami timestamp April 3rd, 2011. Location, Fontainebleau Hotel, Miami Beach. According to an anonymous tech expert who looked at the metadata, the footage was taken from a hotel hallway camera and shows Fat Joe entering first, followed by Remy Ma a few seconds later. There is no entourage, no makeup crew, no stylists, just them. According to the leak, they didn't return until the next morning. The person close to Papoose claims that he was visibly shaken after viewing the file. Instead of confronting Remy, Directly, he apparently reached out to someone he believed could provide him with truthful answers. We'll reveal their name in the next section because, believe me, this rabbit hole is just getting started, and what we're about to uncover next could completely destroy everything you thought you knew about Remy Ma and Fat Joe. The heir reportedly left the room when Papoose saw that 7th floor Miami clip. The man who restrained Remy Ma through trial, prison, and public humiliation is now seen staring at a video of her entering a hotel. Suite behind Fat Joe. That's not just heartbreak, that's betrayal wrapped in silence. But did he blow it up? No, that's not Papoose style. He's not the kind to throw hands first. Instead, he throws bars, asks questions, listens, and then moves with purpose. According to sources, he didn't even mention the footage to Remy at first. Instead, he began making quiet phone calls to people who had been there at the time, including tour managers, studio engineers, and personal assistants. And then he called her, the one person who was there for both Fat Joe and Remy Ma during those pivotal Terror Squad years and who isn't afraid to stir the pot. Remy's former stylist left the camp in 2012 under mysterious circumstances. Her name, we're not dropping it for safety, but what she said, oh, she sang like a bird. Joe was obsessed, she told Papoose. According to someone who heard the conversation, it was never just music. I saw the way he looked at her and how protective he got. He used to cancel sessions if she wasn't there. She made him feel relevant again. She even claimed that there were rumors of a situation in Puerto Rico where the crew had flown out for a show in 2006. Allegedly, Remy and Joe were spotted on a private yacht long after the rest of the team had returned to the hotel. Now for the twist. When Papoose confronted Fat Joe privately, yes, that happened. Joe didn't deny knowing about the hotel. He said, "It isn't what you think, Pap. But you don't want to go down that road, Eyes. Excuse me," without even flinching. That's about the same as saying, "Yeah, I buried the body, but trust me, he had it coming." What exactly does that mean? Then, according to insiders, Papoose goes into full detective mode and searches through old emails, direct messages, and burner accounts. What he finds chilling is an email from 2011 that was sent to a private Gmail account using Remy's former nickname. It says, "Miami was different. We can't keep playing like this didn't happen. You know I'd do anything for you, Jay. Not signed. Joe not signed. Fat Joe, just Jay." But guess what? The email header metadata points to an IP address in the Bronx connected to an office studio leased under Terror Squad Entertainment. They still want to tell me it's not Joe, but the streets are talking. Not blogs, because when the whispers in the Bronx start to get loud, the truth isn't far behind. One underground podcast even released a blind item that described a platinum-selling NYC rapper whose long-term loyalty was tested by a queen with too many kings. Gee, who could that be? Fans, though, did not remain silent once rumors about the footage surfaced on Twitter due to a since-deleted tweet from someone claiming to be in the circle. In the meantime, Remy remained publicly silent and continued to post studio clips, motivational quotes, and selfies, such as "Real love stands the test of time," "Iso-realist," and "Fat Joe not a peep," not even a cryptic IG live. Fan forums speculated that Papoose had moved into the guest house for a while, but insiders say he didn't. You can tell it's serious because Joe often talks like that. However, what transpired next transformed the whole incident from chaos to history. A fan discovered a 2005 Terror Squad DVD interview with grainy film. Audio that is very clear, showing Joe and Remy sitting together during a behind-the-scenes feature. At one point, he leans in and declares, "That's my heart. I'll ride for her, till the wheels fall off." People believed it was just brotherly love at the time, but now that everything is coming to light, that line hits differently. Papoose is a man of dignified silence, but this time, silence is hurting him more than speaking ever could. According to a source very close to the situation, Papoose contacted an old journalist friend who had previously covered Remy's court case. He asked for clarification rather than a headline or press, saying, "The next file, room 714 bar, fold. Brace yourself, it is the one that should not exist and has a name that raises every red flag you can imagine. Room 714 full is the same file that allegedly turned Papoose's heart into stone. No yelling, no screaming, just silence. And when a man like Papoose goes silent, it's because the pain hit bone deep. If I send you something, you think the world is ready for it. But it might be the full footage, not just the hotel hallway clip. And Fat Joe enters the hotel suite. There is no music, no party noises, just a dim light from the hallway camera, a room service tray that is unaltered, and voices that are low but clear. At first, it just mumbles like tension between two people, trying not to make a mistake, but then the audio sharpens. Joe's voice comes through first, and Remy answers. It was never supposed to go this far. Those 10 words changed everything, because if there was ever any doubt, that line made it black and white. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't just business. It was something real, and it was kept hidden for a long time. Joe's team reportedly went into full lockdown mode, issuing takedowns and calling platforms to pull clips before they hit 1,000 views. He didn't say a word when he returned to the room, but the world around him had already started to move because someone, nobody knows who, had already leaked the knowledge that Papoose saw the video. 5 words was all it took to start the avalanche, and within a day, hip-hop media began buzzing. Radio hosts hinted at it without naming names, and bloggers danced around the edges, suggesting that a power couple might be in trouble and a legendary Bronx figure might be at the center. As the dust settled, fans started unearthing old interviews. One clip from 2005 showed Joe sitting next to Remy, staring at her as he said, "I'll ride for her till the wheels fall off. That's my heart." Meanwhile, Remy's social media changed. Overnight, the Black Love Studio updates vanished. She deleted her recent story post and replaced it with the message, "Sorry," without any explanation or hashtags. Papoose's last post on his account remains untouched, with the caption, "Loyalty is only real when it's tested." It was sweet at the time, but now that everything has been leaked, that line feels loaded. It didn't end there, though. A podcast episode from almost 10 years ago reappeared in which a drunk Fat Joe jokes, "If Remy ever left Papoose, she'd come home where she belongs." The audience laughed and everyone thought it was a joke, but now it feels more like a confession that no one paid attention to. Then came the real twist. According to an anonymous producer, the full footage wasn't just on the iPad. Papoose had a copy backed up, and someone else, no names, sent that copy to a private Dropbox linked to a reputable documentary house. This isn't a blog post anymore. It's becoming streaming content that lasts forever. Industry insiders are already in a panic. A representative from a major brand who had been in negotiations with Remy for a hair care line reportedly pulled the deal, and another PR firm distanced itself from Fat Joe's upcoming concert tour. Behind closed doors, teams are searching the internet, consulting lawyers, and issuing blanket non-disclosure agreements to anyone even remotely involved. However, it wasn't just about business, it was about legacy, and that legacy was shaken, Ma. Their story was a fairy tale in a genre full of heartbreak, and now it's just another cautionary tale. According to reports, Papoose has moved into a new apartment in Midtown. He's been spotted at open mic nights with just a notebook and no ring. Remy hasn't made a statement, and neither has Joe, but insiders say he's planning a live session soon, and if that happens, the numbers are going to explode. Joe was the unwavering Bronx general, the one who helped build and rebuild careers, and Papoose. The question now isn't just whether it happened, it's also how long everyone has known, because if the video was on an old iPad, if emails from more than 10 years ago were found, and if insiders had been chatting about the Puerto Rico yacht night since 2006, then this wasn't an isolated incident. Rather, it was a long-running secret with a long list of people who helped keep it that way. And that's what's breaking fans' hearts the most. It wasn't just a betrayal of one man. It was a betrayal of every fan who believed in what they stood for. Every woman who said, "I want to love like Remy and Pap." Every artist who looked up to Fat Joe as the model. The world has seen enough to know that isn't the end of the story, not even close. But the question that haunts everything we've just exposed is, was it ever real? Was Black Love just a front? Was Fat Joe always more than a mentor? Has Remy Ma been living a double life all along, protected by silent loyalty and the myth of family? Because when the hotel footage file called Room 714 surfaces, the silence that follows is never innocent. It's orchestrated, protected, and dangerous. What happens next is up to them. The DMs point to Terror Squad IPs. It's no longer a rumor, it's a revelation. But the story isn't even close. Fat Joe hasn't said anything, Remy's apology post disappeared, and Papoose is sitting silently so loudly that the entire internet can hear it. Now, we turn to you. Do you think this was a one-time error, or has it been years in the making? Was Papoose really caught off guard? Or did he know all along and decide to protect Remy's image? If this does occur, what else might be hidden in the footage they haven't yet? Please share your theories in the comments section, like, and enable notifications. This rabbit hole is deep, and I assure you that we have only touched the surface. A leak could occur in a few days, so be prepared.